So, what if you could get back 2 whole hours every single day? We're going to dive into a simple 7-day experiment that did just that. And honestly, it might change the way you look at your phone forever.
You know that feeling, right? You just open an app for like 5 minutes, and then you look up and poof, an hour is just gone. You tell yourself, okay, last video, last post, but that scroll, man, it just never seems to end.
So, what would happen if you just stopped for 7 full days? We're going to follow the journey of someone who did exactly that, and we'll look at what happened day by day, the good, the bad, and the, well, surprisingly peaceful.
Okay, so why would anyone even do this to themselves?
Well, it all starts with a problem that I think most of us know way too well: the endless scroll.
Before taking on this challenge, the person in our experiment was averaging over 4 hours of screen time every single day. And most of it was just mindlessly scrolling. You know the drill. It's the first thing you touch in the morning and the very last thing you see at night.
And of course, a habit like that comes with a price. It creates this constant need for quick hits of entertainment, this dopamine loop that makes real, deep focus feel almost impossible. It completely messes with your sleep, it fuels that social comparison game, and it gets rid of any chance for mental silence. Every spare second gets filled up with more content. So, to fight back against all that noise, the experiment was born: a 7-day digital detox, a full week of intentional silence. Now, the rules were pretty simple, but they were strict. A complete ban on all social media apps. And yeah, that means no sneaky peeks on a laptop, zero exceptions. Messaging was only for the essentials, work, family, close friends. But here's the most important rule: every single urge to scroll had to be replaced with a real-world activity from a list they made beforehand. So how did it actually go? Let's just say the first couple of days were anything but easy. It was basically a period of withdrawal, a lot of boredom, and a huge, huge dose of FOMO, the fear of missing out. And the reaction was literally physical. On day one, their hand just kept reflexively reaching for the phone in their pocket, searching for that familiar little hit of dopamine. The brain was just screaming, "Any new notifications? Anything?" But the answer was always no. The habit was just that deeply wired in. And this really gets to the core of the whole problem. Our brains are trained to expect this constant stream of new stuff, of distractions. But the new reality was just silence and boredom. And that forces you to actually confront all those uncomfortable feelings that social media is so good at helping us ignore. So, to fight that fear of missing out, they asked one really powerful question. Last week, what important thing did I see on social media that actually changed my life? The answer was, well, it was kind of startling. Almost nothing. It was all just entertainment, not essential, life-changing information. But then, after that initial shock started to wear off, something began to shift. The mental noise, all that chatter, it started to fade away. And it was replaced by this new, surprising sense of clarity. Around day 3, the benefits became real, like you could actually measure them. Without the constant pop-ups and interruptions from social media, focus improved like crazy. Tasks that used to take 2 hours were getting done in about an hour and 20 minutes. The brain was actually relearning how to concentrate. This also led to this huge realization about the difference between actual connection and just the illusion of connection. Reacting with an emoji feels like you're staying in touch, but it's pretty superficial. The detox forced a return to real, deep conversations, which is just way more human. All right, so by the end of the week, the results weren't just feelings anymore. They were measurable. Let's look at what the data actually showed. So, the most dramatic results? Bam! Daily phone usage dropped by about 2 hours. All that time that was previously just lost to the scroll, it was simply reclaimed, just like that. And that drop really, really adds up. 2 hours saved each day for 7 days, that equals 14 extra hours in a single week. That is almost like getting an entire extra waking day back into your life. I mean, think about that for a second. And beyond just the time saved, the other results were just as powerful. A calmer mind, less of that comparison game, better sleep, finishing work faster, and a noticeable spike in creativity because the brain finally had room to think its own thoughts again. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? How can you actually apply these lessons? Because this isn't about quitting social media forever, it's about taking back control. Here is the key insight from this whole thing. Look, social media has its benefits. The problem isn't the tool itself, it's our compulsive use of it. The whole goal of a detox is just to hit the reset button on that relationship.
So if you want to try this for yourself, here's a step-by-step playbook based on the experiment. Choose your week, set some really clear rules for yourself, tell a few key people so they don't think you've disappeared, and this is the most important part, create that replacement list. It gives your brain another option to turn to when boredom hits.
In the end, this experiment didn't magically solve every single problem, but what it did do was restore something absolutely crucial: control over time and attention. So the real question for you is, what would you do with an extra 14 hours a week? Read a book? Start that project you've been putting off? Or maybe just enjoy the silence?